What's up and welcome back? I'm John Stark from BackTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and we're moving on with The Boys, Season 5, Episode 3. Some people haven't been a big fan of the season. I think it's kind of doing about the same thing, and it's really evident also in this episode when there are some things that they're starting to toss around and catch into that really feel like that they're paying attention to like our current political climate, which is kind of what they were doing before. Um, Firecracker feels like they're toning her down a little bit, so she's not so strong, and so she's like her own character now. But there certainly are things that they're nodding to that you could read into, and if you're part of that audience, you don't like being made fun of, or you don't like yourself seeing yourself through Homelander. um I think that's always been that's been the reaction, at least since season 4, when the political climate really started shifting, was between 3 and 4, and the boys just started reflecting it. So I don't even, basically everyone's in this episode at some point. Um, they just don't all have a lot to do. Homelander, of course, the peak, the mountain, the valley of the whole show, and holding up the whole thing. Um, he has a lot on his mind. He watches at the top of the thing. It's confirmed, of course, that his dad's okay and he's having conflicted emotions about it, but then he just walks right up on stage and announces, yep, this is my dad. So after that, he has like a hallucinogenic experience where he sees I uh, like Margaret, or whatever her name was from season 1, who is telling him that the only way that he can truly be number one is by like ripping the skin off of all of the people who oppose him in front of their it's like this really disturbing moment. And then he goes and he takes a bath in some baby milk. He has a conversation with Sage about wanting to divert all of the current resources so that everyone is working on, because they figured out that the reason why Soldier Boy can survive is because he has original V in him. He has V1, which is something Samir didn't account for, because very few heroes ever got V1 in the day, because most people didn't survive V1. So Homelander does not have it, even though he's genetically connected to Soldier Boy. He's got a newer V, as does Sage and Ryan, and everybody else all has newer V. So Soldier Boy and a couple of the heroes that were around during Soldier Boy's time were the ones that had the original stuff. So Soldier Boy's fine. The virus can't kill him, but it can kill everyone else. And Homelander wants to try to find original V, but none of it exists. They destroyed it all. Um, so he's, I don't know, frustrated about that. He's going to end up sending the Deep. Well, he doesn't send the Deep. He sends Black Noir along with Dog Knot and Cindy to go try to find his the bunker that we saw in Gen V, where Zoe and what's his name from the head of Vought is hiding. Um, and the Deep joins, and Homelander is going to get called into a trap with Ryan, which I'll get into in a minute. So that's kind of like the Homelander thing. Sage doesn't pop up that much. She pops up a little bit in the conversation about like the virus and explaining the virus and trying to get more of it. that whole thing, and her reaction to Homelander deciding to tell the world Soldier Boy is his father. Then downstream from that, Soldier Boy has is trying to, Homelander is trying to convince Soldier Boy that he didn't know that the virus was there. He would have never sent Soldier Boy in if he thought it was going to put him in danger, which I actually believe that. I actually believe, because he was having these like daddy issues. I don't think he would have wanted his dad to die. I think he would send in Soldier Boy because he really like his like deep and black noir not doing great, and he doesn't really have anyone else in the seven, because I don't even, there isn't even a seven anymore. It's just like him, deep black noir, I guess Firecracker, but all she does is TV stuff now. So it's like, who even are the seven? Is there seven in the seven? So, I think it's just like the three, but so there's definitely an open spot on the seven for Soldier Boy, who gets this fake medal given to him, and Firecracker does a nice job of, doing a news broadcast that spins it so that, so fake news media was the reason why Soldier Boy was a communist. So he ends up having sex with Firecracker, mostly because he thinks Homelander has, but she hasn't, and he doesn't really seem to mind. He's just like, whatever. Still haven't had sex in a while. That was great. So Soldier Boy and Firecracker are at least some level of a thing. Firecracker doesn't really do anything except for she's kind of jealous that Soldier Boy is getting breast milk from somewhere else. And then also has sex with Soldier Boy and has the opening sort of Soldier Boy is alive and is not a communist entry. That's what her contribution is. Black Noir goes off, and the Deep joins. The Deep jumps in with Black Noir because he needs a win. And so he's got Cindy and Dognot, and he's looking back at them, and he's like, these are the weirdest two to come along on this journey. And he's like, so Homelander asked you guys personally to come because Dognot has, like this super smell, and which we've seen Dognot before. I can't remember Cindy, but Cindy's hilarious. So there's the Deep, I think it was the Deep that asked Cindy, like, so what's your story? And so Cindy's story is so insane. I hope it gets captured and just put on the internet, because her backstory is the most nonsense. It's, it makes no sense. Like, her backstory is just the most random thing that anybody could have ever written for that character. With, like, she was raised by llamas or something, and then she met the reincarnation of Robin Williams and learned that Mork and Mindy was actually a Netflix documentary and it's real. So they hopped in an egg and they went to, it is so fucking crazy. It's so weird. Like, and she deadpans it too. Like, the whole thing is just absolutely, this is my backstory. This is my truth. So they show up outside the bunker to break in, and Cindy is trying to use her telekinesis to get in, but she can't. It's too much. It's too many. It's underground. Too much steel. Whatever. And Dognot is just trying to sniff around and find the people who are, there. That's what his main purpose is. Black Noir doesn't do shit. He really doesn't do anything. I mean, he fights a little bit once they finally get in, but he really doesn't do anything. And the Deep ends up, the big thing for the Deep is, at the end, when I know Cindy gets killed. Dognut, I I don't know if he got killed or if he just got knocked out. I think it's the same thing with Black Noir. Black Noir gets knocked out by the Deep, and then he gets thrown from the vehicle. But basically, the Deep wanted to take credit for bringing back the head of Vought to Homelander, which is what he was looking for. So that's how those people's stories go this episode. Then on Team Good, I guess, or morally flexible, Team Morally Flexible, Frenchie and Yumiko end up sort of separated from the rest of the group, and they're back at the facility for most of the time because they have heard about V1 and they think it's a possibility. There's a theory that maybe V1 could it could do anything. It could be a cure. It could also, at least if they got V1, it would leave Starlight and Yumiko immune also to the virus. So Frenchie and Yumiko start planning out their future together. Like she wants kids, he doesn't. It becomes this awkward moment for them because they're talking about like what their future would be like. It's so weird to hear Yumiko talking all the time. I do not need this in my life. And one of the things that we pick up this episode is Ryan, and he has this moment too with Yumiko where he's like, "You talk now," and I'm like, I don't know why. If I had to pick like worst thing that happened in season 5, it would be Yumiko talking. And it's not because of females. It's just like she didn't talk really for 4 seasons, and just because she can and said like one thing, what did she say, like no in season 4? Now she's having like full conversations, and it's just so weird. It is so weird. And I just didn't need that in my life. But they end up being there when Zoe, who's in the bunker, Zoe meets all the guys when they come in the beginning. Huey, Starlight, Milk all go into the bunker. They leave Butcher outside. They're smart enough to do that, knowing that he can't come in because Zoe. And so the 3 of them go in to try to get the information that they need. And Zoe sneaks out and goes up above, and I guess she's been, meeting Ryan secretly. So, they talk about how, they need to kill Butcher or whatever, and Ryan's not 100% sure about it. Ryan was hiding in some sort of like CIA black site, and some people found him and he killed all of them. So he's got a little bit of blood on him, and she's like, "Where'd the blood go?" I cut myself shaving. So Zoe's gonna leave the bunker to, I guess, do things herself because Ryan doesn't do what she wants him to do. And she ends up stumbling in a facility where Frenchie and Yumiko are, but also Samir is. So she finds her father, and she and her father end up destroying all of the chemical stuff that would kill them. And Frenchie and Yumiko, instead of fighting and stopping them from leaving, let Zoe leave with Samir, her father. So they go off to do whatever. And then eventually they'll come back and they'll find Yumiko and Frenchie in the facility together. Butcher notices Ryan, or Ryan actually notices Butcher and says, "You think I couldn't smell the Tanqueray on your breath?" He's like hiding in the woods over by the bunker. So they go off and have a drink together, and Butcher tells Ryan, his idea is, he's like, "I'm not gonna lie to you. This is, you're the only one that can do this because you're the only one that would be able to lure Homelander in since he's being cagey and hiding in his tower while there's a virus out there." Because they've talked about like just trying to run up and throw it on him, but they're like, just fly up into space and then hang out there, wait it out. But so they think if Butcher thinks if Ryan delivers it, that he might actually be successful in doing it. So Ryan's conflicted about killing Homelander, but Butcher tells him the story. And Ryan, I guess, has a lot of skill set and a lot of powers because he can. Butcher has a lot of bullshit, but Butcher also cuts straight to the chase and is telling the truth with a lot of this. And he gives Ryan a beer, and he tells Ryan it'll probably kill him too. So like Ryan knows it's a suicide mission. And then they find out that the virus has been destroyed, that Samir and Zoe destroyed everything, and Ryan's frustrated because Butcher doesn't want him to go anymore because without the virus, he won't be able to kill Homelander. And Ryan's like, but you said I'm the only one who can do it. I was like, yeah, but with the virus. So Ryan goes off on his own to another location where he summons Homelander, and then Homelander thinks they're going to talk, and he's like, I'm here to accept your apology. Hilarious. So Ryan asks him about whether or not he raped his mom, and he can tell through Homelander's reaction, like the increased heart rate and stuff like that, that Homelander's lying. So they start to fight, but Ryan starts losing really fast. Like Ryan's fighting from a place of anger, and not from strategy. So Homelander beats the shit out of his own son, and I think the last time we see him is when Ryan is bloody and bruised and has been punched multiple times by Homelander. So, fathers and sons is like the undercurrent here in the episode. Down in the bunker, Milk is gonna try to decipher some ciphers. Huey finds Maverick, who is Translucent's kid, and Huey killed Translucent, but Maverick was told that Homelander did, so Maverick isn't mad at Huey, and Huey is trying to repair this thing with Maverick and try to fix. He's like, we can't just keep killing people and having their generations keep coming back and it be this cycle, is what he says to Starlight. So Maverick is on their side, and they have him go up, but it's funny because Maverick is using this really awful body spray, and so when he goes up to try to set the trap for Deep, Black Noir, and the others, Dognot smells him because he smells terrible, and even though he's invisible, captures him. The Deep goes over to him, and Maverick says, hey, Homelander killed my dad, and Deep's like, no, bruh, it was that Howie guy or whatever his name was. So Maverick is mad about that. He lets them into the bunker, which creates this huge fight, so they all have to fight. This is where Cindy dies. Maverick is fighting Huey, but Maverick ends up dying. Dognot fights Milk. And I don't think he died. Maybe he did. That was the one fight where I was like, did he? Okay. I mean, we don't need him, but whatever. And meanwhile, Deep and Black Noir take the head of Vought, and then Deep knocks him out and takes him back. So that's basically the totality of this episode. It ends sort of with like Starlight flying away from Huey because she got panicked when she thought Huey might have died because Maverick explodes. There's like blood all over the room, and she thinks it's Huey's blood, but it's Maverick's blood. And so that realization is, she's like, I can't deal with this. I can't have you dying or whatever. So she flies off. That's the boys. So, yep. We're moving forward. So the deaths in the episode were not super memorable. Um, People anyway that died. We didn't lose any major people. Black Noir's not dead. He just got knocked unconscious with a grenade. So, um, unless it turns out that Ryan died, which would be weird. Ryan would be the biggest death if he somehow didn't survive Homelander's pummeling. But it wasn't suggested that he died. Uh, and he should have the same sort of, a lot of the same healing powers and stuff that Homelander has, and the ability to bounce back as part of the lineage. So he should be fine. Anyway, that's The Boys. It's hard to say who's going to live and who's going to die, except for I don't see Homelander surviving the season. I just don't see them like leaving it with Homelander alive, or at least with powers. Like his worst case scenario would be being alive but having no powers. That I could see them doing, is stripping him of powers. If they're like, well, we don't want to kill Homelander, well, just depower him. So, but it's thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll be back next week with The Boys season 4, or season 5 episode 4. See you guys on the other side.